Tata nZambi, I'm a Zulu. Yenga Keno family. Yenga Keno. We're getting ready to start another video. And this one will hopefully be another one that will help our people understand why we have to get away from the Christianized mindset that many people are still being indoctrinated into, even after those who try to help us with this, that came with power, try to help us understand that the Most High is not the God of the Christians, never was, because of the deceptions that happened with the churches of 7 assemblies, that indeed the spirit that many people are listening to can be the deceiver masquerading, and that's still even happening today. There's a reason why Bantu people, even in their beliefs, supposedly claim that now they have the truth, there's lack of unification for that reason. Why, especially the Black man, the Bantu people, the Bana Kongo, the Bana nZambis, the Bana Betu, why we have so much hatred for one another, why we do bad things to one another, even though we do try to do good things, why the world treats us so badly, why there's always the fight to become like the other nations in front of us. So this kind of goes into why, you know, they want to always control the narrative as to what goes on in society. We know what just happened with the House Speaker, who knows what happened with her husband. I'm going to get into that as well a little bit, because the world doesn't understand. If you don't know your scriptures and you've been taught things wrong, you're always going to be seeing things the wrong way. So that's why we're going to get to the song first. I welcome you once again. Assalamu alaikum Kongo, who are back in the spirit of Tata nZambi, Mpemba, in spirit and truth. And for those of you that are with us, this will hopefully be a way to understand why you cannot just focus on waiting on a savior. And I remember people was like, it was funny because people called, he kind of did it in secret when Barack Obama made the same comment. Not saying I favor him or anything, or I know who he is in spirit, but he was basically saying exactly what Christianity's mindset has been conditioned to believe, when in reality, the scriptures themselves and even the Most High himself says the opposite of what the world thinks. And this is why, you know, we have to, when we pray and fast and seek the Most High, you must know that Yissa'Yah himself, Kusua Kongo, has an army. Okay. And he even himself said he is not alone. Okay. And even in the Christian churches, they kind of push this mindset, but they really don't understand what that means because of how the dumbing down process has been given to us. And this is why you've even been convinced that, oh, the army of the creator is the United States military and the European military and blah, 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 blah. When the problem is that when the Most High fights with his army, he's undefeated, never been defeated. When he lets his army fight by themselves is when they become defeated. When he's not with them. Okay. And so I'm going to explain to you how, I meant to also put up how the Catholic Church, because see, they've lied about a lot of things. I was going to talk about the Kingdom of Kongo structure. I try to find the other teaching from the brothers and the Tokwis youth, but I remember it somewhat to my knowledge, and I'll try to break it down. But the problem is that the biggest lie that the world has ever been told is that the world was always a Eurocentric mindset when it comes to who was in charge, and this is the problem. So I'll play the song while I'm doing this. All right, Kimbo, Tata nZambi, I'm a Zulu. This teaching I'm going to do, because I'm a historian, I did a lot of research, like many people, But there's one thing that I know, and we're going to go back to this. Many people have talked about this subject. And first of all, before I begin, and someone said I should pray before, and I already did. I usually do my prayer before I start. But I'm gonna give all praise and Kemba to Tata nZambi Mpemba Tulendo Akongo Yavi. I give all praises to, I give go honor to Kusua Kongo Yissa'Yah. I give honor to the Manda Betu, the set apart spirit of Tata nZambi Mpemba. I give all praise, glory once again, Tata nZambi Mpemba. I have to give that again. I always gotta give him. I give honor to Pemba Kalunga, Yenge Kemba Kalunga, Yenge Keno. Yenge Keno to the righteous elders of nZolele, Yenge Keno to all the descendants down to Adama. Bikolele for any zonas against thee, Baba, Tata nZambi, ask that whatever comes out of my mouth will come through you and your revelations that you give, Tata nZambi, to help our people come out of a mindset that they continue to have, that they need to understand there are those who are still teaching a false understanding of this world, and help us to continue to expose many of the unrighteous things that continue to happen to us, to go and realize to our people that what has been done will be undone, Tata nZambi, and that the world will now soon know the full truth. I ask you, Tata nZambi, to help us, help me to this time. Give honor to all those who are doing the Most High's work. The truth is the truth, no matter who says it. It can come out of the mouths of the Bantu righteous. It can come out of the mouth of secret society members. It can come out of the mouth of anything that the Most High desires to tell the truth. And this is what the world does not understand. But at the same time, you can also be manipulated by those who have an alternative agenda. Okay. I'm going to start with the understanding that the reason why the Most High has always been the one that has to free his people is because he is the one that sends us into captivity. He has always been the one. You want to say Israel, that's fine, but we never call that. The real Hebrews would never call Israel, but that's what you want to use, that's fine. nZolele, Yissa'Yah. The Black people of this earth, which we're not all the same, but we're meant to think that way. That's why when people keep saying, oh, the black man, white man, okay, heathen is heathen. Whenever you worship false idols, you're a heathen. It doesn't matter what color you are. When it comes to the Most High Tata nZambi, when you practice idolatry, heathenism is heathenism. Okay, it doesn't matter if you're a Hamite, Camite, Japhethite. That's why you got to be really careful with people talking about how things got changed around, because in the time of Nimrod, everybody was a pagan except Sem and Semi and Noka, who watched it as they were still alive, and some of those who tried their best to fight Nimrod's intent to create this mindset. But it wasn't easy. Even Abana was still making idols. Okay, Abana was building idols, and he was the only. He's where the Most High started with his righteousness. Okay. Now, the biggest and the strongest delusion that the world continues to believe is the concept of wealth and ownership. The delusion of what they call financial freedom. Nobody on this earth is financially free. There's no such thing, really. It's a delusion. Financial freedom is always what's determined by those who create the rules of the financial world. This is going to go into a little bit of what people try to go after Kanye and Nick Cannon and other people who have said this. And the saddest part about it is that the people who are going after him, their people have actually admitted it themselves. With a rabbi who spoke to a radio session, I played the video for my wife. He sat there and said, we've been telling you for years that we own you. There was a politician I can't remember his name. Back in the 1800s, he was upset with the banking system and the Jewish people because he said that they were basically controlling the U.S. Congress, and they felt that they needed to get rid of them. Okay, I can't remember that. I can't remember his name though. Somebody might be able to pull up the history on that. But when the banking system was changed in the 1800s, people don't even know who was really in charge of that. There was actually, unknowns to many Americans, a battle between the Moors and the Ashkenazi Jews about the wealth. Because at the time, people don't know the United States was actually controlled by the Moors. Okay, they hide this history, and they were black people. That's why they wanted, but they wanted the world to think that America had to be the white nation, that everything had to be built white, 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 white. Which that was the intent, to deceive um, not the black man, but the Bantu, the Bana nZambi, the Bana Kongo, that the god of this earth was a white god. And that's why the concept was made to put the Roman god, the high god of Jupiter, as the new god of the Holy Roman Empire. Okay. So I'm going to first of all talk about Christianity and how Christianity acquired wealth under the Constantinian Empire and before that, and to help people understand that this is not the Most High's way. This is definitely demonic. What they did was make people convince themselves that it was true, but it wasn't. And see, the biggest delusion that we have been taught as a people is that, and I'm going to go into how it talks about African traditions. The world has been meant to believe that all African traditions were demonic, when that wasn't true. There were a group of people called the Bantu people, the Bana Kongo, the Bana nZambis. Their way was not demonic, but we were made to believe that it was because of those who had intentions. Okay. Now you can choose to believe it, you can choose not to believe it. It all goes back to who you serve. Because see, the reality is those who are going to call it demonic still serve under the system of what we call Esau-Edom. Because Esau himself knows the ways of the Most High. He just chooses to go, he masquerades like he is doing the ways of the Most High, but he's really doing satanic things, because you can't do both the Most High and the Mammon. You have to either be one or the other. And that's why we're talking about the fact that if there are those in around you that are even declaring themselves to say that they're Esau, then, or even feel that they're claiming objects that belong to Esau, then you know something is wrong. Okay. For example, there's no one going to tell me, okay, after I read the scripture about gods of wood and stone, that the so-called cross, even when the Catholic Church themselves admitted the fact that they changed it, is the correct cross for Yissa'Yah, Kusua Kongo. No. I had an encounter with a gentleman. He saw the other cross. I have a friend of mine, he was ex-Marine. He said, I got the real one at home, because he was wearing the other one. I'm like, well, you know, it's pagan. Why are you wearing it? Just because. That's, you don't do. I mean, that's how we are. It's like, why? You know, I'm glad the other one that I had broke. You know, and this is the thing about it is that there's no one in these pastors in these churches going to tell you that cross is pagan, because they know they have to serve who pays the bills. The problem is who's paying the bills. Okay, where does the money come from? How does it get to you? How does it work? What is the real purpose of tax shelters, stuff like that? And there's a whole lot of agendas that people don't even know. You know, I'm gonna start with this brother right here. And I know people may say, you know, if they say truth is truth, no matter who says it. But I'm gonna get into, this is maybe you remember him. He kind of looks like the actor that played Shaka. This is Joshua Maponga, the elder, and he was on a channel, and he kind of revealed a secret where he said that, well, South Africa is really a corporation on the United States stock market. And the lady said, what? Okay. Well, he said that's not a secret, but that is a secret because the reality is all African countries, European countries, South American countries, Asian countries are on the stock markets around the world. Because the biggest deception that the world doesn't understand is everything is a business. There's no such thing really as countries, and what many militaries are like cavalries, like with design, like how, and this comes from the Roman system because the biggest deception is how Rome acquired their wealth. They'll tell you, oh yeah, we get it from donations. Well, those donations aren't always willing. This is the lie. Those donations are also forced. And this is what happened in the past history of the church, is that they didn't just do things and say, oh yeah, go pay your tithes and alms. You can go watch the movie Robin Hood, the last one, and they show you, okay, that this stuff was not an option. Even when the kings were running the feudal system, it was not an option to pay taxes to the king. You had no choice. You were enforced. And who were the people that were usually in charge of enforcing the law? Were the knights. Because the knights were the one who were working for the royalty, who were working for the real leadership, who were under they were the army. Okay. The problem is you think this concept disappeared because they created countries. No. Okay, this is what we're talking about. You have people who did criminal acts, but then justified it according to the fact that the scripture says, or we're God's chosen people, or whatever they kept saying. When in reality, the scriptures say quite the opposite because they didn't teach you how to read it right. Okay. And that's kind of how the world has been taught things backwards, as I've been telling people, because there was always the mystery of the 12 tribes and who they are and the chosen people are and what's really going on. Okay. So this is why, as many people are looking for a Messiah figure to do things, the scriptures themselves say the opposite. Even Kusua Kongo says, I have an army. Where do they say that? In the book of Yoane, Revelation, where it says that those who make war against the Lamb who are with him, he will overcome them and those who are with him. So he's saying that there's an army involved. So it isn't just by himself. Even Simon Toko proclaimed that there will be more like me and you won't be able to stop them. And this is why that was a threat. Kimbangu himself was saying that there need to be more like me. Okay. So that's why when you're talking about the Most High, first of all, he's the one and only king of the nZolele, as he's proclaimed, but our people are stubborn and we wanted a king, right? And so technically he's the one that said that his son was the one was well pleased, but even he himself said, I'm not a king. When he came, he said, I'm just a servant, which is the whole concept of what he was trying to get us to understand, is we are servants of the Most High. He is our king, and it's our role to and it's the role of the Most High's people's chosen people to provide the way to the Most High and to do the righteous things. Okay, so that's why when I hear people talking about this person's king so-and-so, this person is that, king, I don't dishonor anybody who's anointed, but the problem is that are you doing the Most High's way or the work? Or are you doing the way of the system that is paying the bills? Okay, and this is why, when Toko came, he did his part to fight against the Portuguese somewhat. People kind of think that he didn't, But because the problem is that in Angola, at the time that they were going on with the war, what they don't know is that the war was being played on both sides on purpose. Because see, the Roman Empire, as I will demonstrate, still owns Angola. They own Congo, they own all of Africa. The Roman government, the Holy Roman Empire still owns the land wherever they went to conquer. Okay. And see, the problem is that then that means they also own the stock markets. And this is what people don't understand, that you then become, when you claim to be a Christian or you claim to be this title, you technically are the property of Rome, because they claim to be the ones who speak on behalf of the Most High. And this is when the protest took place, but see, they made it look like that you separated, but you really didn't. And that was why the secret society played their role to manipulate that. And that's the problem, is because you took their book that they created through the Council of Nicaea. So that basically meant that you become their property. And that's why the Most High took away the Mandavella, because he said, you already had your own property. And this is when it goes back to Hosea. Okay. So now I'm going to show you, I'm going to go to Genesis 27. This is where the nightmare started for us. The people don't, and I don't claim the other side of me, but this is what happened. Now, some people claim that this story is incorrect, it's inaccurate. The book of Joshua even verifies the same thing. Nzuzi was actually Yakuba. They say he claims he was really the firstborn. Well, yeah, because they switched places. Okay, he didn't come out first. That's why he's calling Simba. He grabbed the heel. He may have came out first, but the Most High recognized, that Esau was the beginning. There were two nations in the womb. That's why the earth is really divided into the two nations. They just don't know it. One nation is the Most High's people. The other nation is Esau. That's why when he killed Nimrod, he was above Nimrod. So that's how his nation became the dominant nation on the earth. And so everything that he ever did, everything that was ever done on this earth, because remember, I'm going to tell you in Joshua, even the children of Ishmael, the people claim, the Muslims are different than, no. Esau went and got the wives of Ishmael, and they showed him, they said he'd be a donkey. So basically the whole system is where, and see, because of the fact that they bear much of the spirits of the seed of Cain in them, they go the way of Cain, then they become like the spirit of Cain. And so that's why they become the seed of Cain. And that's how it works. So this is when Yakubi went and he told Insaka he was Esau, which technically he lied. Okay, that's why there was an issue there. So he received a blessing where he would receive. Now, this is the thing about it. It says, I want you to pay attention to his blessing. So here's the nZambi. See, the smell of my son is the smell of the field which Tata nZambi has blessed. So the Most High is in the nature, right? Therefore, hallelujah, Tata nZambi give thee of the dew of heaven and the fatness of the earth and plenty of corn and wine. So Nsaka, being a holy man at the time, righteous, was able to pass on the blessing, which is what people don't even know is how it's supposed to work with our people that they took away from us. They passed on a blessing to the child. Let people serve thee. So what he's saying is, and this is what the Most High made it to happen, all the nations would then bow down to the seed of Yakuba. And this is when Davidi even told us we are gods. This make us Maliki Kongo, basically. That's why I said there's two types of fallen angels: the ones that deserted their post, and the ones who lost their power in the flesh on earth, who were under the heaven because we're born under the Malekis themselves. And we separated ourselves when we go against the Most High from his kingdom, and we lose our way because it was given as a blessing that the nations would bow down to Jacob, to Yakubi. And this is now why, with the masquerade that's going on, this is why now the nations are bowing down to Esau, claiming to be Jacob, and they just don't know it, to their own father, because what Esau did was he made himself to be worshipped by his own children as a godhead, as a god figure, through Shaitani, because he's the spirit of Baal connected to him, because the Most High cut him off. Let people serve thee and nations bow down to thee. Be in fumu over thy brethren, and let thy mother's sons bow down to thee. Cursed be to everyone that curses thee, and Bilaka be thee that Bilaka thee. And see, this is where, in Christianity, they say, oh yeah, we always have to bless the Jews. We always have to, and if we curse them, we're going to be cursed. And see, the saddest part about that is that they think they're doing the wrong people because of how Esau's anger was kindled over this blessing. And it continues to be the problem to this day because the Catholic Church is Esau. And I'll get into that. And it came to pass, as soon as Nsaka had made the end of the Bilak blessing, Yakubi was scarce gone out from the presence. Nsaka, his father, that Esau, his brother, came in from the hunt. He also had made savory meat. Okay, we know what happened here. And Nsaka, his father, said to him, who art thou? And he said, I am thy son, thy firstborn, Esau. So he's saying thy firstborn, and he's saying that, well, there's people who keep saying, oh, no, they switched this around in the Bible, and da-da-da-da. And the book of Joshua even says it, no. And in Simba, we talk about he held on to, and Simba means Yakubi held on to the heel of Esau when it came out, the stronghold, and Simba Wayuda is what we call Yissa'Yah. And we know in the story of Joshua that he's going to even say, then this is why they don't tell you how they put it in here, but it's not here when he says that, he said that, that he has supplanted me these 2 times. How did he took his birthright over the meal? When did that happen? Well, you got to go to the book of Joshua. That's why they took it out. He thought he was going to die because he went up against Nimrod and all of his people. And he was like, hey, and Yakubi had made the meat. And he said, okay, you think you're going to die and I'll give me your birthright. Okay. Well, he didn't die. And that's when it was like, wait a minute, I'm not dead. And that's what the Most High said, that was the stupidity on his part to think he was going to die, and he didn't. He healed himself, his wounds were healed. And that's why the Most High was frustrated with him. But of course, it was already destined that there would be 2 nations. And for people to keep saying that this didn't happen that way, then explain how we keep going into captivity under him. Why does he keep being above us? That's the whole concept. This is the delusion that people keep getting put in their heads. If he has to be above us. He has to be in Zuzi now. That's why now he's the judge of the earth, because Yakubi went into captivity. This happened every single time. Okay. And then Saka answered, said to Esau, behold, I have made him thy mfumu. So what is he saying? Because he represents the Most High Spirit, he says that people are now above you. And how do we stay that way? You have to be in the Most High's way. This is the problem, and we never do that. And all his brethren are given to his servants, and with the corn and wine I have sustained him. And what shall I do now unto thee, my Mfumu? And Esau said, Father, hast thou but one blessing, my father, Bilaka, even me also, O Mfumu. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And then Saka, his father, answered and said unto him, Behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth. So what is he saying? Esau is the whole world. Esau is the whole world. This is why Tata nZambi told us to stay away from him. When we had our kingdom and he was given our dominion, he kicked Esau out of Africa. So then Esau would then become the whole world. Okay. And the door of heaven above. And by the sword thou shalt live. Now, I had a relative that got upset about all the killing and what people do. Well, that's why. Because Esau lives by the sword. That's why they're always fighting. But see, what it is that this also goes and ties into the curse that was given to the fallen angel and their offspring, because they must also kill each other, because they exist too. That comes from the book of Hanok. That's why this wasn't tied in together. And shalt serve thy brother, and shall come to pass when thou shalt have dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. Now, how did that happen? You see, you go ask the pastor in any church, how did Esau break the yoke of his brother? How did this happen? What did he do? How did this work? Okay. How did he break the yoke from Yakubi? So it was already put that Esau would break the yoke. So that's why when people now think, oh, we're Esau, we're above, now we've been the Most High chosen. No, this is the problem. And Esau hated Yakubi because of the Bilaka, his father blessed him. Now people come and say, oh, well, he reconciled later. And of course, why they put the book of Joshua out is because it says, no, he wouldn't even let him be buried in the cave. And he got his head cut off in the process. So he never reconciled with his brother. And in the spirit world, it got even worse when he went on the side of Shetani, because Shetani hates Yakubi even more because of the fact that we are more favored over his children and him and his fallen ones. And that he hates everything that is the Most High's. He hates Kongo, period. He hates Tata nZambi Pungo. So his role is to make sure that anything that has to do with the Most High must pay. But he does it in stealth, because he knows that when you're chosen, he just can't come at you. He got to come around you. And this is where the trickery comes from and how they bring us down every time. Because he knows all I have to do is get you to disobey the Most High, and he goes away. That's the whole concept. Okay. So where does this play out to what's going on in Africa? First of all, Africa is not what people think it is. They lie. It was the land of Canaan. Most of it. The Canaanites got kicked out. That's how they ended up in Northeast Africa. Okay. That's why they call that the land of Canaan now, because remember, he said he knocked down, they're going to rebuild it. So they always put where they move. Okay. So Embo, Cassiopea, there's a Canaan, they move themselves. They always, the Most High knock things down, they build back up. So they go and move around all over the place. And that's why they hate the Bana Betu. They hate the Bana Kongo, because he would always do these things against our enemies everywhere. Anywhere we went, he even said in the scriptures, he said, when you obey his law, statutes, and commandments, your enemies will flee 7 ways from you, right? Well, that's how they know who the real people are. Okay. And this is what is going on today. Okay. So let's talk about how the Catholic Church or the King gains their wealth, or how, first of all, let's see how they did Africa. How Christianity was used to exploit Africans. Okay, this is actually written today. So this person must be part of our awakening and know some things. So if you want to check it out, this is the website. Now you have to understand when the concept is that when you send missionaries, they have guards. This is the big lie. Who guarded the missionaries whenever they would go to do their work? That's where the Knights Templars played their role. They were the guards. Okay. So the whole concept was whenever they would go, it's just like when you in the old west, when they would send people into the west, the cavalry would be either guiding them or be around near them to scout out to make sure they weren't getting interfered with. This is how it always worked, even in the European systems. Whenever missionaries went out among the people, you had a military force with you. Okay. It's even in the military now, they call it an escort. Okay. This is something that they've always done. You get escorted. And see, this is the thing that people don't know is this is what happened when Diego Cal came in the Kingdom of Kongo. He was himself a Knights Templar, so he was his own escort with his military people. But then they had missionaries that came in there that would then work to become Rome's mouthpiece to bring us to Jesus Christ. When the fact of the matter is, we didn't need him because we already had the real truth. And that was the problem. They made people believe that. So it says when Europeans came to colonize Africa, they did not just do that with force. They met it on Africans, which means that they, tricked you. Colonization was expedited by the use of religion and in particular Christianity. As of now, most Africans identify themselves as Christians and many as Muslims. Now remember, Islam comes out of Catholicism. That's the problem. They're the other half because it's Christianity 2.0. It seems Christianity has done the most in affecting the conscience of the Black person in Africa. African traditional religions have been washed away, and especially with Christianity, are viewed as pagan and heathen in nature. This right here, okay, is the way that the European and the so-called people of the book religion, it's Revelation 3 and 9, this was their play, okay? Because what people don't understand is they had, as the Khazarian Empire infiltrated the Roman system long time ago, as we saw in the book of Revelation. Okay, that's why Yissa'Yah had to say, those who say they are Yoane, Bayuda, and not, but are the synagogue, you know what? I shall make them to worship at thy feet. Okay, because these were converts from the first century. And a little bit even before that, because of the Greco-Roman, these are the people who were considered the so-called Phoenicians. Not us, not the Black people, or whatever you want to call them. It was them. It was Hittites. It was the Hittites mixed with Edom. Okay, and their Aramaic language was created out of the Phoenician Empire. Well, everyone is entitled to their religion. It's the same religion which shaped Africa's history, especially with the advent of imperialism and colonialism upon which it was built. Now, what people don't understand is many of the Catholics during this time weren't just, they were not just Jewish people, but they were Esau, because the Roman Empire itself had Esau bloodline, as we saw in the religion. And see, Esau merged with when it goes to the book of Jasher, he merged with Ishmael. So he's also the Arabs. He merged with the Hittites. He merged with the Chaldeans. And he merged with Rome, because there were dark-skinned people in Rome before him. And this is when you saw what happened with Gog and Magog, the Japheth people. Okay, you saw what happened with curses of Canaan. Esau, through the blessing of Yissa'Yah, he said you would inherit the fatness of the earth, meaning his seed would mix with everybody. Okay, This is why they took out the second Ezra that says, for the end of the age is Esau or the world, and Yakubi is the beginning. Because Tata nZambi knew that this was the blessing that was given to him, and that he would rule, and that he would always wage with the sword. So this is why the children of Esau always fight with the sword. Always. And they go and they take what's theirs and they pillage and they whatever, you know. And see, this is the concept of how they then use the religious mindset to then incorporate this when they stole it. That's why Kambanga said, we're not going to throw away the Bible. We're going to catch the thief what they stole. What thief are we trying to catch? Okay. That's why you cannot be Esau, because Esau is the thief. And this is what people need to understand, why even Kimbangu and Toko, well, Toko told the people, you're not Esau, when they were saying that no, you're not. And I know I've encountered people in Kimbangu who said we're Esau. No, that's, if this is what's being said of people, or they're hiding this mindset, then you're still under Rome, because Rome is Esau. That's what's going on here. Whenever you say you're a religion, I'm a Christian, I'm a Muslim, I'm a Jew, I'm whatever, I'm a Buddhist. Esau's in all the nations. So you're Esau. Because this is what happened. Okay. This is why when you say I'm a Bantu Benduela, Esau's people cannot be people of the way. They never can be, because the Most High cut them off. That's why salvation has to come through the people who are in the way, that the Most High accepts as his people, which is the house of Yakuba, who must lead the way for those who walk in the righteous path of the Most High. And that was why the trick went out to the Kingdom of Kongo. So now, excuse me, the delusion is, who runs the financial world? Who runs the system? How does it work? Okay. Now, this is when we're going to talk about what role the church played, Roman Catholic Church played in Catholicism. And look, they're telling their own story because that's where they come from. So it said, what role did the Roman Catholic Church play in the colonization of South America? And of course, you saw what it did in Africa the same way. The Catholic Church sends missionaries to Latin America. Okay, first of all of the conquistadores of the Spanish people, the leaders of them were knights. This is why they were dressed in the armor when they would go. Okay. Many people who were in the Catholic Church at this time had Khazarian roots, Edomite roots, and they had Ashkenazi names that they changed to the Latin in order so that people didn't know. This is why many people don't know many of the slave owners of all the plantations, even in South America, were actually the Jewish people. And they have the ships, the slave ships that they ran the ownership. You go to the island of Curacao, they talk about the guy who, there's a guy whose grave is there. He had 100 different slave ships. The person who actually ran the good ship Jesus was actually a Khazarian person, descendant. Okay. The pirates of the Caribbean were actually the so-called kicked out Jewish people. Okay, they wore the patch because their god was Nimrod, because of one-eyed sailor. Because Nimrod could also sail the seven seas. You know, the one-eyed sailor, patch. Okay. What did the Cali do to South America? The expansion of colonization, Portuguese Empire. Now, remember, Portugal is the one that started off the whole process when they took over for the Moors. And the Spanish Empire played a role in Roman culture, led to the Christianization of the indigenous population of the Americas. and the Africans and the Asians and all over the place. Okay, it wasn't just there. Now, we see that what they did, they spread their, I said here, the Roman Catholic Church is the world's largest Christian church, was about 1.2 billion adherents approximately. Now, you have to understand. So when you look at what's going on with these people who are missionaries, I might have to do a part 2. Okay, I'm gonna go out to how the Catholic Church gets its money first. Okay, well, let's go first to this. Let's talk about the Spanish Inquisition. The Roman Catholic system, the Spanish Inquisition, it says here, was a Roman Catholic system for the punishment of heresy and forced conversion of various religious groups. It was established by Queen Isabella, King Ferdinand in 1478. Now, remember, during this time, the Kingdom of Kongo was already set up. And there were Bantu people in Europe at this time. When they're going to get to the part about when they talk about the Muslim and the Jews, it wasn't just the so-called Jews, it was also the people who were really the Jews who were there. That's why they showed them cutting the heads off and put them up, and they had the people, they mixed, they heard that some people told the story about how they mixed in with our people and sent them back to infiltrate, when in reality, there's some kind of this, we got to also understand our people were mixed in with the Muslims too when they came to the Kingdom of Congo before the Christians. And so you got to kind of give, kind of look at the whole history, is that we went to the Islamic slave trade first. So it wasn't just the Portuguese who were trying to infiltrate us. The Muslims were trying to do the same because they knew where the real Jerusalem was. They just hide it. Their intention was to unite, it says here, their intention was to unite Spain under the dominating religion of Catholicism. Conflicts of the Inquisition was because of the cruel tribunal, torture, and repression of Muslim and Jews that developed unto the opposition. I have to get, let me see if it'll let me read more. I might have to sign up for this, but you never know. Okay. That developed in opposition concluded in catastrophic economic, political, and social declines in Europe. Bam, Putu, poor, like we say in Kikongo. They became Putu. Because remember, Islam at the time with the Moors, the Black Moors controlled Europe for 700 years. So when they reversed it, they were broke. They had no money. They had nothing. So that's how you can tell if the Most High, Tata nZambi, was with the Catholic Church, why are they broke? Why are they not having any wealth? Why did they have a decline in wealth? What did they do? Political decline. There's issues going on. The Europeans were struggling. Become a cesspool because they were always fighting each other. Like I said, Christians started fighting Christians. So which side is the Most High really on? Okay, but you have to understand, at this time, any place that Rome occupied was Rome territory, was Rome property, was Rome. And we talked about how just recently they called for all of the wealth to be coming back to the Bank, and all of their property and stuff went back to the Bank of Rome. Okay, but see, the problem is when Tata nZambi sent us into captivity 500 after what happened with the Kingdom of Kongo, the King of Kongo signed over the wealth to Rome. When this is what they did, this is what they went around to all the rulers, and they had different kings in each kingdom. He started to fall, and the rest of the kings also had to sign, and they created like what they call proxy kings. They did this even in the Native American, then proxy chiefs and kingdoms and all this stuff, and then destroyed those who didn't want to go along with it. So now you have to understand, The delusion is you think that, okay, so now you formed the United States, you formed all these different countries since then, that the Rome doesn't own it. Well, this is the hidden lie. Anything that Rome conquered, they still own. They just own it. They behind the shadows now. They're the shadow. That's the shadow government. Okay, as they talk about the shadow government is the people who run, and many of the popes who have gone since then are from the children of Edom or Ashkenazi children. Like Pope Francis, he's an Ashkenazi Jew. Okay, they're part of this bloodline. Okay, so are the people who now have a lot of the dominion over the system. So it doesn't matter if you have an Indian person running it or you have a Arab person running it or whatever, they're still Esau's children because of the mixing. Some are darker, some are lighter. Some can be black, some can be white. Okay, it just depends on the bloodline. Okay, that's why what you're witnessing is the revelation of the exposure that the Most High is doing. And this is why they're talking about, we got to get out of here. We got to go to outer space. We got to run. We got to do whatever. The Most High is coming. But they don't want to tell you that they gave you all of this false stuff. Okay. And what you got to understand is when Rome occupies land, it's not just the land they own, it's the people on it. This is what they don't tell you. Okay. So you never stop being Rome's property. They just disguise it in the form of certain ways that they produce freedom and we're free. No, if you ever go against the Roman way, you become cut off in everything that you do. You become a problem. You become anything that goes against the Roman Empire, modified now as the Holy Roman Empire, you become a threat. Because they know they don't worship Tata nZambi and Pungu. This is their deception. They worship the God that gave them the wealth through the way Esau was blessed. You go forth and you conquer and get and steal it and you take it, like they did in Africa and other places. Okay. But now, okay, see, and then they said, of cause for the Spanish Inquisition's notorious reputation were their unjust tribunals. So if they're unjust, who's running them? The Most High? No. This is satanic. This is what they're doing. Okay. So at this time, the government of the king and queen of Spain don't worship Tata nZambi and Pungu. They're not worshiping the creator. Their God is Lucifer, because there's no in between. Okay. But they're not telling you that. Oh, but God gave us this. No. This is Esau's purse because he is with the Most High. The European nations at this time were mixed with Esau. Okay. So let's go into how did the Catholic Church get so rich? Get the facts. Remember, if you actually look at it, it's like they said wealth-wise, and now it's gone up. They were sitting at 25 on the Forbes wealthiest places where if it had to be counted. But they're higher than that now because of what they did. But many people have the perception that the Roman Catholic Church is wealthy, even extravagantly so. Is this true? People see pictures of the church's beautiful buildings, read about its collections of art, wonder about this income expense, even possible corruption. How did the Catholic Church get so rich? Okay. Now, the Catholic Church has acquired, they put asterisks on acquired much of its wealth through the monetary gifts and donations of land over 2,000 years. So, you have villages and stuff that they have property that's given to their forefathers and passed down. But the problem is the government itself that controls the country that they occupy belongs to Rome because our forefathers sold it to them. Because even if you're Muslim or Catholic, Rome owns it still. This is why they can allegedly create their war, because they're trying to get what Rome has over them. But technically speaking, they're on the same side because they're both Esau. Okay, that's the problem. Their religions are still the same God. Because like I told you, in Shaitani's side, there's always going to be conflict. Because Ishmael is going to be an ass, like you said, he's going to be an ass. And Edom is going to always be what? Killing people by the sword and go the way of Cain. Okay, that's why Kusua Kongo said they go the way of Cain. And so when we see the mistake was the Bana Betu taught the way of the Most High, but then we got corrupted. So they always knew the law. That's why people say, "Oh yeah, Kemet knew the law." Yeah, because the Bantu people always had the law. It's how you use it that's the problem. Okay, you cannot walk in spirit and in truth with the Most High if you're using His law to justify the means of how you attain what you get. This is why even our people did this to ourselves, where he would get upset and said, your heart needs to be circumcised, but you're hard-headed, you're stiff-necked, and you're going away against me of the way of the heathen. Who even, like Paula said, some of you are doing things even worse than them. When he would find some, things that were happening. Of course, that comes from what happened with the spirit of Shaitani coming in under the sorcerer, and the spirit of Baal was working. Okay. So where does so you see here it says land acquisitions for over 2,000 years. So what happened? Did they just give it back to the countries that became independent? Oh yeah, you're going to be, no. This is why they set up proxy governments to look like you have the freedom, but they own it. Okay. They own Asia, parts of Asia. They own, this is why they're fighting the people who are trying to get their land back and become independent. Say, oh yeah, we want to be free. This is why the wars come in. No, because they don't want to give back what they took. Okay. This is why when the Pope goes to any country, he's always welcomed. Why do you think that is? Because he owns the land that they occupy. The wars happen when you don't want to give. That's why when Vietnam, they told the United States, kick the French out of here. This is why the United States said no. Or we're going to go to Russia to help us. Well, Russia can't help you either, because Russia was also owned, even though they have most of the Orthodox churches, they still controlled by Rome. That's why it was a three-headed eagle. Okay? Because the Catholic Church defeated the Pope of the Eastern Orthodox to say, you are under us. That's why when you see them in the procession, they walk behind the Pope. don't understand this. Okay. So now, where does the Roman Catholic Church get its money? What is a parish? A parish is simply a local church and its property. Typically, one priest runs this parish. Now, wherever that parish is, you don't even understand what his purpose is. It doesn't matter if you come from a Protestant church or whatever. The Protestant churches are set up on the land that's owned by the Vatican. So it didn't matter that you separated from the church, you still got to pay Caesar. That's where the taxes come in. They know this. When you want to be tax exempt, this is why they ask you why and what is it for? Okay? But the real reason for that has nothing to do with what they tell you to be tax exempt. It is for the wealthy to have loopholes because they are privileged, because they serve the master. This is why they do charities. This is why they do these things, to make it look like they're the do-gooders, when really they're doing the opposite. They are destroying communities, they are destroying land, they are destroying people, and they are conquering, and they are also using disinformation among the people they go to create chaos. That's why when they went to the Congo, they said, oh, the Zulus, the Xhosa, you hate each other. Oh, what? You know, they did this. The Gabon, you know, they go to these different countries, places, and said, oh, this tribe, they hate you, and da-da-da. This is what they did to the Muntu. They do the same thing in South America. They go down there and say, oh yeah, this tribe, you hate, you know, they created these conflicts while they were taking what was there. Okay. A diocese is a group of parishes, and in particular, one bishop is in charge of the administration of the diocese for the most part. The Catholic Church allows each diocese to make its own decision. Hello, the Catholic Church allows each diocese to make its own decision. So they have the authority to rule whatever the hell they want. This is particularly true as regards to financial matters. So when they would send when Congo was Catholic, mostly, you had this parish guy who would come in there and he would determine how the money was given. Okay? As long as it was getting back to Rome, they didn't care how he did it. So this is where you can get somebody in there that's doing stuff that's wicked in order to do so. Beating, killing, whatever. You go and cry to the Pope, we don't care, the money's coming to us. Okay, this is what they did. Okay. Now they want to come back and say, oh, we're so sorry. We did. No. Does the Catholic Church give money to dioceses? No. That's why they have to go get it. Dioceses receive no money than the higher levels of the Catholic Church. Each parish sustains itself through tithes of its church members and the donation of those in the immediate community. How did they get the donation? Was it always voluntary? Obviously not when you look at the way they're set up. But they tell you they fed the poor, they had that is the masquerade, y'all. This is the Church of Laodicea cannot save you because it's lukewarm. This is the deception. Okay. This is why they now give you this concept. Oh, Jesus is coming. He's going to be our savior. Blah, 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 blah. When in reality, they were supposed to be making you like him. But then they turn you, they once again, they did exactly the opposite of what they were supposed to do. They created a golden calf. And they still got us doing the same even now. Even in that mindset, what we see what's going on in Angola and the world and everything. Yes, Kusua Kongo will play his role. Yissa'Yah will do his role. But he also said, you have to do yours. That is what we're supposed to do. And see, anyone that wants to come south saying, oh, I'm going to get back from Rome what they took. You got to question that, because the Most High is the one who has to end it with his judgments. Just like he did with Captivity and Babylon and all these other places. But they're hiding this concept, okay? But at the same time, the scripture, like he says in Yoane Jude, and like it says in Hannah, he's going to send thousands and 10,000s of his holy ones. Okay. So you cannot just be one guy, one person, one anybody. No. This has been the headache that the Most High seen all the time. Is like, look, everybody who is in the way of the Most High must bring the Most High's way to the people and do what the Messiah did and more. This is what Kusua Kongo said, you become like his brother. This is our problem, okay? And I even can say this because I know this is our hypocritical problem, myself included, is do we always find ourselves approved? Like we talk about Timothy, and Yissa'Yah talked about this. You have to find yourself approved to receive the Most High's abilities to do what you need to do. So you must be cleansed. You must have a purge. You must constantly be, cleaned up. And there's something I even came to the realization of is like, you can't clean people up if you yourself are still not cleaned up. This is where many people in religion don't understand. It's like, how can you heal when you're not healed? How can you bring righteous past if you yourself still needs to be righteous? Okay. How can you yourself do the Most High's work if you're not doing if you're not walking in the Most High's way? You must check that every day. I know myself. I'm guilty of many things. Because I understand that in this system that they gave us, you are working the opposite of what it was intended to do. Okay? I might have to do a part two because let me show you what I mean. Now, this goes back to if Rome owns the land, and like I said, who's really involved in the Catholic Church is Esau, then it goes back to this. How do the banking system really work? Who runs the banks? Well, the banks are on the land of Rome's property. And of course, because Esau was given the fat of the earth and he runs the world, then this is his bank. So this is one of the reasons why banking systems redlined Bantu people, Black people, why they wouldn't give you a loan, but would give the money to themselves or those who were worthy of it in their eyes to become wealthy. And then they would use the system that Rome put in place about preaching about blessings to say, oh yeah, this person has money, so they must be blessed. No. The Most High does not bless wickedness. If you robbed and stole to get it, the Most High is not giving you wealth. This is Shaitani. He's the one that will give you what you want, and then you must give him something in return to get it, and he will give it to you faster. But the more you do, okay? So because Esau is the world, who is his God? His God is Satan. He's worshiping Baal. So his people are doing the same in their masquerades. But they don't tell you that because the concept is you can't know. That's why Yissa'Yah said, you do not know who you worship. We know what we worship. Because the world was deceived with the curse, with the blessing of Esau. He must have the fat of the earth, and he must go by the sword. He goes the way of Cain, fighting all the time. And of course, like I said, he merged with Ishmael's house. He merged with Japheth's house. He merged with all the Hamites. Okay, that's why many of the people in the Somali and Sudan people say, "Well, we're the white people. We don't even call ourselves black." They don't recognize that. Okay. Let's see. So how the banking system really works. Very few people understand how modern banking systems work. They have in their heads a model they learn from the textbooks, which banks take deposit from customers, then lend it out. In reality, banks fund their loans by borrow in the interbank market. This is where you get the Lords of London. This is where you get Rothschild, Rockefeller, Bilderberger, all these, the World Bank. Okay. It said once a bank has agreed to make a loan, it then borrows the amount of money in the interbank market at a slightly lower. So they're borrowing the money from the World Bank. Who's funding the World Bank? Where does that money come from? This is who has the gold. The lending comes first. The borrowing of the fund, the loan come afterward. This is why so many loans are pegged LIBOR, charge borrowers rates that are set to be leveled at some point what the banks themselves pay. Well, okay. So then how do you collapse a bank? And this is what's going to happen. The World Bank can say, you have been borrowing money from us. We want what you owe us. Well, if you can't pay it, that collapses the bank. Because what are they doing? They're borrowing money from the world banking system. Who runs that? Okay. A very misconception when the government and borrows, the government, I don't know why this thing is cut off, but it's like it's not quite right. In short, banks lend first, fund later. Government spends funds and then pay back later. Is what they're saying. This thing is all jacked up. I'm sorry. They're cutting it off, I guess, because they don't want you to know the whole thing. But anyway, what you don't understand is, and this is when it goes back to what Mapanga said. I hope I'm saying his name right. Maponga, Yaya Maponga said, okay, let me get to a better one. So you have to understand, okay, when it comes to a bank, somebody has to come and put money in there, okay? Then they lend it out to receive their money back through borrowing your money that you're given by when you go to work, okay, and when you go and earn things. You then go to the bank and you put your money in there. The people who put the money in the bank then borrow your bank and then pay you back the interest, but they do it at a lower rate. But they have all the money. Okay. So your money's growing little by little, but their money is growing a lot. Because their rate, that's why, and see, because of their investments that they do, how you invest in companies and businesses is how they obtain the wealth. But where does that come from? This is the hidden agenda. Where do the businesses and the people who invest in the banks, where does that money come from? Where does that wealth come from? This is the hidden agenda. Because see, the problem is, like I said, everything that Rome took as property still belongs to Rome. It never stopped. So you are still owned through Rome's system, which is Esau. Okay? And all the other nations that he's affiliated with that went against the Most High, they're all connected in this. But because they're not on one accord, they're always battling each other. This is where you get all of this stuff that's going on. And plus, the kingdoms had to rise in a certain sequence, as they already knew. And see, this is where we're going to get into what they talked about in Trading Places, is when he said, oh, y'all a couple of bookies. Because everything is based off of futures, what you're expected to make and report. This is where you get people saying, well, we didn't make as much as we thought. So then they have to say, oh, sell, sell, sell. We can't. Okay, you messed us up. Oh, we made more. Okay, we buy, buy, buy. Okay. Oh, we made more. Oh, we're going to buy more stocks than you because you made us money. Okay. But what you don't understand is the human factor in this is you are a part of this too, because every country is on the market. So that means if every country's on the market, that means they're making futures on you as a person. This is the reason why they have a problem with people who can and cannot work. If you happen to be disabled, then they understand, oh, this person will never work. This goes along with what they have spiritual understanding and knowledge of who will contribute and who won't. Because they've turned the world into a manufacturing business, pumping out whatever whoever they have this understanding. Because the devil has deceived the whole world, because it's like these people who are connected to him, they have foresight. They just can't tell you that. The devil himself says he has foresight in the Bible. But people don't read that. But they've been made people to only see now that Tata nZambi has even more foresight than him. Way more. Okay? So this is why they have created a world that you don't really see what's going on, but you only focus on what they want you to do. Because the harsh reality is they're not working for the Most High. Not even a little bit, not even close. But they want you to think that they are. And anybody who says otherwise, oh, that's a problem. We're against you. Why? Because King Bongo said we're trying to catch the thief with what they stole. Well, they don't want you to catch them or know what they're doing. And anybody that tries to let you know this, hey, that's a problem for us. No, no, that's a lie. Call it what it is, hate speech, this and this and that. When the reality is, on paper, their names are all there. When they sign the contracts, when they do all the interactions, when they do the business exchanges, their names are there. That's why the name is so, that's why your reputation is so important in the business world, and your name. Okay. Now, remember, everything is a business, including crime and the prison system. So they have to make money with everything that they do. Everything is about making some form of income. Even in what they want to call a communist society, the people up top still got to make money. It's all a delusion. So the freedom of your wealth is, the freedom comes with, as long as you do it the way we want it to you, then you have your freedom. Your financial wealth is set. But when you go against it, now you're going to be made broke. You're going against the system. You have a problem. Because Rome owns you. That's why Tata nZambi says, to free his people, I have to do it. Because I gave you over to Rome. But they don't say that. They own the 12 tribes. But they're not going to tell you that. Okay? Because when the Kingdom of Kongo was sent over, the 12 kingdoms became the Rome's. So they could do whatever they wanted, and see that opened the door for them to go in and start conquering in Africa and teaching things and make stuff pagan. When reality is, their ways were already pagan. And there were others who were doing pagan ways that they got it from, that allowed them to use spiritual sorcery. But they won't tell the world that. Why? Because you have to believe the strong delusion. Okay. And so now, when we go to how Tata nZambi is saying, my people will be restored, it means to remove the system that keeps you in bondage, mentally and physically, that has the delusion of freedom. Okay. I was going to go a little bit longer, but I think I might have to cut this off. See, in this, I'm going to tell you how they knew we already had this. This is the Kingdom of Kongo. Actually, no. Let's go to how. Okay, so what? How it's really determined. The value of currency, and this is how they control people, because they control the value of the currency. Have you ever wondered how the value of currency is determined? Why do dollar bills have different denominations? Why do euros and yuans have different values? Why do the same coins equal some numbers and others do not? People across the globe use money every day, all day, but precious few reality understand the money itself. Of course, money is very simple, but it's also very complicated in many ways. Perhaps one of the most confusing things about money is knowing how the value of currency is determined. Now, that starts with the World Bank, by the way. Different countries have different methods of determining the value of currency, and there are a lot of factors that go into that decision. Below, we will run through how, who, what, and why currency is determined. Now, this is going to be somewhat deceiving because we know who really is behind this. For nearly as long as there have been thriving societies, there have been different currencies within them. And Investopia puts money in itself is nothing. Okay, let me say it again. Money in of itself is nothing. Start with that. The certainty true, especially when considering what has been used as money throughout the centuries: animals, seashells, paper, plastic, metal, and even nothing at all, aka digital currency. That's where we're going, by the way. At the start, people bartered. Who did they get that from? Which meant that they exchanged one thing for another that they deemed of equal value. This is more or less of the forerunner of modern exchange rates. Now, it dates back over tens of thousands of years. That can be iffy because we know who created that concept. As far back as the dawn of modern humans. Okay, the modern humans started in the days of Noka. So they were smarter than us. They just don't want to tell you that. In fact, PBS never mentioned how bartering is not exclusive agreement activity. Many animals exchange bartering in the form of symbiotic relationships. Who taught them that? Adama. Remember, he had all the animals. Okay. We're going to skip forward. Who decides the value of currency? The value of currency is mostly determined by the demand for it. So here's what the World Bank says to the people who are lesser. We have no demand for your currency, so it lowers its value. We have more demand for these other currencies, so it raises the value. So this is the same way goods and services are as value and gives the measurement what it makes. How much the currency will buy in foreign currency is measured by the exchange rate. The value of treasury notes, these can be converted into dollars through the secondary market. The amount of currency held by foreign current governments. When a foreign government holds more currency, the lower the supply of that currency. Do you see how they control it now? If that government says, if they hold, it says the amount of currency held by foreign governments. When a foreign government holds more currency, the lower the supply of that currency. In the US, this makes dollars more valuable. When a foreign government holds more of your currency, this is one of the reasons why when you go and they took away the dollar from many African countries because they claimed, okay, that it was funding terrorism. Okay, this drops the value because see, the America says we have no. Let's use Angola as an example. We have no need for your Kwanzaa. So it drops the value. The reverse is, so this is what's going to happen when you see in countries say, we are cutting off the dollar. We are changing the rate. That lowers the dollar because the demand says we don't need it. Okay? But then it supposedly raises the other economies. This is why it was an issue when Africa said, we're going to have our own currency. Well, if you don't need the dollar or you don't need the euro, it lowers the value to the African continent. Therefore, the exchange of wealth and goods is a problem. We go broke because we need that. That's what the president of France meant. And others who say if Africa becomes independent of itself and the worth of itself goes up on its own, we lose. This is what Tata nZambi is talking about when he says, last shall be first, first shall be last. This is what's going to make the world become a problem, because when he goes to get what Esau took, then Esau's children starve. This is what they don't tell people. When he goes to get from Esau what Esau took from Jacobi, because remember it says he broke his yoke from his brother. How did he break the yoke? He took Jacobi's blessing. And now he holds it. Jacobi's blessing belongs with Esau. So now they think they're blessed because the Most High made us the tail. Now when he makes Jacobi the head, Jacobi goes back, Esau goes back to being broke forever. And whoever Esau is connected to. That's why they don't want the Bana Kongo, the Bana nZambis, the Bana nZolele to rise as a nation. Okay? This is what goes on. And I didn't want to go too long, but you got to understand something, okay? That's why they pay our people so much money in different positions to keep it that way. And then threaten them if they go against it. Like you see what's going on in Haiti, what's going on in Africa too. That's why the leaders of your countries, they know, hey, we're on the stock market. Okay? And whoever the Most High sends to help this, whoever the Most High uses for this process, his word, his truth must collapse the Vatican to where they now can't own anything because they don't have any way to own it. So this is why you cannot really be Christianized too much, because the Christianized people are going to collapse because they own the world. This is why Tata nZambi says, be careful. And Yissa'Yah said the same thing, of false prophets, of false messiahs, of false anybody telling you anything different. Paul said, be careful of anybody teaching you another Jesus that we did not preach. Be careful of in 2 Thessalonians. That is now happening. And it continues to happen around the world to our people. Because the man of sin is now revealed, and at the same time, you're going to see the deception unfold for those who believe the lies. That's why he said, come out of the system, come out of the harlot, come out of all these different things that are set up, because now I must bring the judgment against those who robbed me. Zechariah 5:1. I must bring the curse for those who stole and then swore falsely by me. Okay? And this is why the judgments are going to increase. This is why all of these things that are going on earth are going to continue to magnify, not go away, but increase. And they're trying their best to stop it by trying to take out Tata nZambi, by trying to take out his people, by trying to do whatever they can, because you didn't know who they really are. Even though the scriptures say in Hosea, this is what happened. We gave our blessings to Esau, because those are the lovers, his children, all of the people that he affiliates with, said, we gave it over to them. Okay. And he stripped us naked. That's why we went on the slave ship with no clothes on. He stripped us of all, that's why he burned the Kingdom of Kongo, burned. Because he said, hey, I gave these people, like it says in Lamilia 50, over to you, over to the I gave you over to the heathen, to the Edomites, to the Gentiles, because you wanted to be like them. Where he says, you have played the harlot, meaning you cheated on the Most High. We cheated on Tata nZambi. We cheated on him, and we cheated on him every day as long as we're in the system of what they give us. But they're thinking that they're doing it righteously when they're doing it wrong. You're cheating on the Most High when you don't do his way and his law, statutes, and commandments. And when you have condemnation against those who do, which is why the religions are doing condemnation, even though they think they're being pity. No. Because Rome did everything through condemnation, saying you're excommunicated, you're kicked out of the church, you're this and that. Heresy. Okay. And then you got to go over to Christianity and say, oh, you don't know Jesus Christ, you don't know God, you're going to hell, blah, 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 blah. And they themselves don't even know the Most High. That's the problem. Oh, if you don't know Muhammad, you don't know Allah. Okay. A lot of this stuff was done to cause confusion. And the Most High is not the author of it. This is why Tata nZambi says, if anybody comes to you claiming to be me, you have a problem. You are worshiping another God. You better check it. Always. Because we keep falling for this problem. We continue to do so. And the Most High must now bring his righteous judgment for those who continue to believe the lies. Okay? I'm going to stop there. And I hope this is something that will help us. And I pray that nZambi will let this stay up, because it's going to expose a lot of things. But in reality, the Emancipation Proclamation, all of the declarations that they claim to be a freedom, only exist as long as you bow the knee to Rome. You go against Rome or any of its systems, like the United States is based off of the Roman culture. Oh, you don't like it? Then you get out of here. But when you go out of here, you're doing Rome anywhere you go. So it doesn't matter where you go, you still have to do what they say in their system in order to receive things until that system goes away completely. That's what the great reset is. Okay. All right. Sambolola Zola Kwingi, where's it Yahweh Kong Kutwala, Mbote Sabona, and understand, people, we are never to receive anything by just assuming that people have done things, because the Most High can send a strong delusion in all different forms. That's why we have to stop with the golden calf stuff, period. Because the golden calf stuff is going to get you put away for eternity, like many people are already doing. All right. Ingeta, Sambulolo.